So, hey, my name is Ryan Diaz, and then, I'm the programmer slash level designer. So we'll be introducing everyone in our team first, and then we'll get into playing with the game.
Great. Hi, I'm just going to let everyone know that they're watching a school year internship showcase. This is one that's focused on game development. I'm June Bea, CEO of Bea Group, and we have been working collaboratively with Downey Unified School District as well as with Acapara Games. And I'm going to turn it over to Christopher, who's been the industry mentor. Hi, Christopher. Or do you want Ryan to start?
Sorry, I'm trying to get the link to share with people, for the folks at home. So getting that situated right now. But hi everyone, my name is Christopher. I am a producer at Acapara Games, and so we did partner together with the Bay Group to be able to host this 12-week internship with these high school seniors, focusing on developing and producing their own game from scratch. Along with me today, before we get into everything, I would like to take a moment to kind of introduce, my better halves, and those are my fellow mentors who helped me along the process of, guiding and steering these 6 lovely interns. So I think I would like to go ahead and start with Lily. If you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Lily. I'm associate producer at Acapara Games. It's been my absolute pleasure to work with these interns over the last 12 weeks, and I'm thrilled to have them showcase what they've been working on with you guys. And I'll pass it on to Kat.
Hi, my name is Kat. I have been the audio-focused mentor for this program. We started out having most of the kids with no to zero audio experience, and by the end of it, they were making sound effects and making music all on their own. And so I'm excited for them to present what they've made.
And then Henry.
Yeah, I'm Henry. I am a programmer at Acapara Games, and wow, I couldn't be more impressed with all the interns and all the work they've done over the past 2 months. Level of just direction they've thrust upon themselves while working on the project. I think everyone's going to be really impressed.
And the last mentor, who's not here at the moment, but will be joining us as soon as he can, is Marlo. And he was our mentor who was leading the assisting and guiding for those who were working on the art assets for the game. So without further ado, I'd like to bring this to the team of interns for them to go ahead and share what they worked on.
So, like I said in the beginning, we'll like to share like what we have for the game. So, here it is. Sharing rights. I should have sharing rights. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up the video clip I have. It's not loading for me to share right now. Oh, there, here we go. Oh. Okay, so we're having some technical difficulties already, but yes, I'm trying to share my video, right? The video of the game, but it doesn't seem to be loading on my Zoom.
It's fine, right? I'll share it for you.
Thank you. So basically this is our game, right? And then you can use AD keys to move. And as you can see that we're able to press space at the same time. So we have that movement going on. Let's see what happens if you touch the frog. Oh, you die. Great. So now you know that the frogs are hostile enemies that you don't want to touch and try to maneuver right. So we have this frog here, but why are we able to die? It's because it's an NPC. As you can see, just traversing through the level, easy enough. And through this level design, we're able to do sketches that we first made before we were able to put them into Unity. And as you can see, as you traverse this part of the level, we have interactions within an environment that we're able to move towards the level, such as eating the worm that will replenish your jump. Another NPC interaction. And we go through the hoop that will lead us to the next level within the level select. So now, as you interact with this NPC, they tell you that the secret area on the left could be accessed with a lever. So you try going to the lever, you find the lever, and then that'll give you a key indication where the vines will turn green. Now you can see that there's an NPC interaction there that is kind of like there. You just traverse to the level, and you want to make sure you want to go towards the hoop because that is the main goal and how you complete the level. Another NPC interaction that we have with a lot of the art assets that we're able to use, and we'll be explaining later on into the presentation. As you can see, another iteration of the worm objects being able to go to the next level. Now, as you go in, interact with NPC, another goal, just try and go into the hoop, being able to parkour against these frogs. Now you see that there is some dark green vines that we need to get access to the lever. So we access the lever, and then we're able to see and interact by double jumping on into the side to reveal what's in the secret area. Traverse the level, another NPC interaction. And you don't want to fall through into those, and you want to try and parkour because you don't want to die with the frogs and restart the level. And with level design, we have like two separate paths that was considered, so to make sure that there's some difficulty and some freedom that the player can have. Another interaction with the worm, and in case we have wall sliding, so in case a player is not able to access, then they could just go to the level freely. Thanks for playing. Yeah, you can stop sharing now, Sunny. You could share your presentation, the presentation.
So now that you have seen the final product, everyone, we would like to show you step by step how is it that we came up with our first game from scratch, the Ugly Duckling, the storyline, and everything that we did with it. Megan?
Arsenio, I don't see the presentation. Am I supposed to share it?
Okay, the presentation is paused.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But as Arsenio gets it up, hi, my name is Megan, and I worked on the storyline mostly alongside Arsenio. So basically, the basic storyline of the game is that the duck travels through a swamp, encountering friends and enemies in his journey back home. And basically, the purpose to his journey is that he can learn that home means something to everyone, and that kind of finding your home and establishing that it's something worth fighting for is a vigilant effort that kind of is collective as well. And yeah, it emphasizes the importance of having an open mind while also looking to friendships to help you to find your way and find your identity in life. And if we are given more time, because in the 3 months we were only able to complete stage 1, we were hoping to kind of expand it to 2 more stages. So stage 2 is the Undergrowth, which is where the duck encounters a swamp pop. It's kind of a play on K-pop snake who teaches him the importance of individuality and keeping your strength through adversities and hardships. And stage 3 is the lake, where he kind of returns home, but then the other ducks start to isolate him because he's been on this journey and he's so foreign to them now that they're kind of like, I don't know who you are anymore. And that's supposed to teach him that home is something that you find comfort through. And despite other people wanting to kind of demotivate you or drive you away from home, that home is something that calls to you and that you will always find in the end.
All right. So hello, my name is Nicole, and I worked on the majority of the tile sets and the character sprites for the Ugly Duckling game. As you can see here, this is our tile set, which is basically what comprises the ground, the general terrain, the walls and whatnot of the game environment. As you can see, it's mostly dark and with a grassy and sort of rocky kind of outside edge to reflect our swamp setting that we discussed earlier with Megan. As you can see here, here's a collection of a bunch of our environment sprites that we use to kind of make the levels feel a little more lived in and a little more lush with plant life. You can see in the upper left there, that is concept art for some of the decorations that we have. There's a mushroom, there's an idea of what the tiles would look like. And you can see that also in the bottom left. And you can also see the vines that we have for the secret areas up there in the upper right, as well as a bunch of other woodland creatures and whatnot that would be spending time in the swamp. Under that, we can also see some more examples here. That little hoop thing is the goal that we have for the levels. It's just this magical kind of fairy hoop with lily pads on it and flowers. You can see some grass on the left, and those two blurry looking lumps there are the lever sprites that we have in the game for unlocking the secret areas. You can also see to the bottom right, there is a 2x2 tile set that we can use. In this specific case, we use this for corners. So first of all, here's the character art for the enemies and the interactable NPCs. In this case specifically, these are the frogs. You can see the frogs here, we call them Mary, Perry, Baron, and Jerry, I believe. The ones on the left are the concept art, and the ones on the right are the final sprites. So you can really see how the image of these frogs progressed as we moved on with our game. At first, we were going for this sort of darker atmosphere, but you can see that that slowly changed as the course of the game development went on. Surprise! The friendly king frog in the back turned into a much scarier, much more menacing frog. So again, as you can see here, this was concept art made in the early stages of development when we were still trying to figure out the tone of our game. And while we eventually settled for a much more friendly kind of tone and a focus on friendship, this was kind of where our early designs were going, where we wanted to create this sort of menacing reality for the duck to venture through.
Okay, and this part is where we go into creating sound, which was a fun challenge, to be honest. We used two different applications, Serato Studio and Audacity, but first I'll show you what we made with Serato Studio, which we used to create the music for the game, our own original music. And here are some of the samples that we were able to come up with. And as we moved into marketing, we decided that we also wanted to have our own music for the pieces that we marketed on Instagram and other platforms, but you will hear a little bit more about marketing later on the presentation. Just here is an example of what we did. This music was made by Enrique, and this is how he was combining the art with the primitives of the game in Unity.
I think you need to stay unmuted, Arseni.
So you can find more of that in our marketing page in Instagram, which we'll share with you later on. Here you have some more examples of the music that we created with for marketing, and this is another sample of the music that we just created for the game. This is the one that we actually implemented into the game. So that was the first step. We first figure out how do we want to make music using Serato Studio. Then we run into the second issue, which was actually getting these sounds to match our game, because most of the sounds wouldn't actually match what we wanted on the first try. And that's when Audacity came in and we started to include different pieces of different sounds and changing the tone, etc., and the speed to make them sound more like what we wanted. You can see an example of what Serato Studio will look in the back, which is an application we used to have every instrument, or most of them at least, at hand. We could just replicate the sounds and create our own music, as I previously said. Here is an example of what our sounds that were recorded look like before editing them with Audacity and after we edit them with Audacity. This is wind sound, by the way. And you can hear in the background there is noises and the wind is too loud at the beginning. As you could probably notice, the first version was full of background noises, the birds were very few, and sometimes you could hear how the wind was making the mic sound weird. In the second portion, I was able to take out all the pieces of the sound that just didn't work, and I was able to put more bird sounds and create a more natural-like sound for the environment of the game.
Hi, my name is Enrique Yanes, and I took the lead in code and mechanics. So in terms of mechanics, we were set on the fact that we wanted to make a platformer that would allow you to move the player with the keyboard and the controller. The controller does work, but there are a couple issues with it currently. The main mechanic to the game would be the fact that the player has a flap or double jump that can get them out of certain situations and can only be used in the air and will get replenished once they touch the ground. In the next section here, you'll see how we sort of try to implement all of this within code. So at the start, we wanted to go for a custom physics approach that would let us hone in on what we really wanted the player to feel like. And here's an example of things that had to happen in order for us to really get down to the nitty-gritty things. Here's more. Most of it really is just sort of calculating where the player would be if they were to move in a certain way. And in the next section, you'll see here that it did give us the freedom to do a lot of things, such as customizing the jump. And an example is shown right here. We had to work through this equation to figure out the gravity and jump velocity given certain parameters in here, and it ended up compressing down to about 3 lines of code within the game. And under that, you'll also see a little snippet of code that allows the layers within the scene to move relative to the player's position, creating a sort of sense of depth.
So these are actually our initial sketches for level design. So before we were able to get into Unity and be able to sketch out like the different tiles and like art assets, we want to make sure that we understand the sketches that we're gonna like do for the levels and just level design in general. So on the left, I have the sketches I did on paper to explain environmental aspects and interactions and just normal gameplay. And on the right, I just played around with MS Paint and some other Unity brought in assets to try and try to make level design and issue it beforehand. We're able to actually put into the game. So after I was able to get those sketches in and understand like what the level and tone of the game is going to be with those levels, I was able to use primitives, which is basically just shapes like triangles and squares, to be able to just showcase what the level would actually look like without having to actually have the art in. If you just wait for the art in and just tile them out, we would lose time. So we want to make sure that we have our efficiency ready, like our development efficiency like good and everything, to make sure that we don't lose time with our project and just have good time management. So this is the levels combined with the art assets. So on the right, you see this environment object that has a bunch of other objects like under it, which are basically, within the level design, I'm able to get the art assets that everyone has made and being able to put them into the level, as you can see within the examples. And with the tile assets that Nicole has made, we were able to, instead of using primitives, put them over with the tile assets that we were doing. So with level design, just some simple things that actually do happen with level design is just also code that is attributed to it. So two things that especially showcase this is the secret areas and the levers. So with the levers, for example, we were able to just basically say that if the player interacts with the lever, just open up any doors that are connected to them, and being able to put in that animation where the lever goes from the open sprite to the closed sprite to the open sprite, and then turn off the collision you have with the vines that stops you from going in the first place. And with the secret area, we were able to say and show that we just turned down the transparency of the initial tile map of the art. And basically when the player goes inside the secret area, they're able to see what's inside of it.
Hi, I'm Christine, and my main focus was marketing. So for our initial marketing strategies, we created our elevator pitch, and then we also did some market research to find similar games and features within the games. So for some, the first one is Charlie the Duck. We also have the Duck game, Duck Life 4. All of them had were platformers with adventure storyline intertwined in between, which was what we wanted to have initially. For our strategies, we wanted to take a more absurd approach with more like catchy captions and taglines to make it more memorable. We also wanted to implement eye-catching colors. In the end, our theme became more cutesy, but we kept it consistent throughout. And then for the platforms and the versions that we wanted to create both mobile and PC versions, and then also release on various social media platforms. So that would be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and then for playables or run-throughs would be on YouTube and Twitch. We ended up implementing our marketing campaign later on in the game, but we were able to have a downloadable version on our website with Mac and PC versions. And then we also have a playable on the website as well. But in the near future, we want to have published on Steam. We have a draft on itch.io right now, and then possibly mobile versions. For our social media, we have our blog doubling up as our website. We have an Instagram, we have a SoundCloud, and then we have a TikTok in progress. And then here's just a snapshot of our Instagram.
And then for the blog, we have a lot of things on the blog, and like, and in my opinion, it really encapsulates like everything we did in just the internship in general, because it has a playable build on there as well as downloadable builds, and it just kind of also tracks our weekly progress. So a couple of things that are on the blog is that right now they're not up right at this moment, but we're in the process of making pixel profiles for us so that we don't have to physically put our face on like the internet to kind of protect ourselves. But our LinkedIns are linked on those pixel blogs. So if you hypothetically were to click the picture, it would link you to our LinkedIn. So if anyone wanted to connect with us afterwards or just continue like networking with us, they could do that very easily. And all the blog posts were collaborative. So each week, a different intern got a different week. So basically I wrote week 1, week 2, I believe it was Christine, week 3, I believe it was Arseni, week 4, Enrique, week 5, Ryan, and week 6 was Nicole, and then so on and so forth until we reach 12 weeks. And it's all updated on the blog right now. So you can track all of our feelings on there and just like how we felt about the internship as a whole. And as Christine mentioned, Enrique made an amazing playable build for the blog. So you can play the game as you wish on the blog and just give us feedback, because we have a feedback form on there. And then our About Us section, we basically wrote like fun facts about us and just what we learned from the internships as well as what our roles were. So yeah, it's really just kind of like a culmination of all of our hard work over the past 12 weeks. So yeah.
Here you have a quick summary of the entire experience and these drafts that we made of our pictures, because some of us don't want our pictures on the internet in a blog, but here they are so that everybody can associate us to a face. We're planning on including this in the blog in the future. And you can see an overall view of everything that came up during the entire internship. You can see the art and the vlog on the left that we were talking about just right now. And overall, this experience was a great experience. I think that everybody had an opportunity to learn, because we didn't just do our role, we did our role, and we also helped each other to think of things we could do, and just to learn more about every part of the blog. As the manager of the team, I could tell that everybody was not doing just what they were meant to be doing. Everybody was always willing, and they did help each other and cover things that the others simply didn't understand or couldn't do because they just didn't know how to do it. Obviously, the game that you saw only has the best things that we could come up with, but there was a lot more that each of us created throughout the entire experience that just didn't get to be shown here because it was too much. However, everybody took an attempt to make at least a little bit of each part that this game required. Megan, would you like to share next?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Wait, Arseni, can you like go to the blog? I'm sorry, my computer is not the fastest ever, so it's not very good for going to the blog.
Okay.
But
Christine, would you like to go first then?
Yeah. So personally, I came from ground zero. I had no real experience in like art, audio, or game development in general. So I did have a little bit of experience with like social media management, but when Chris first asked us to watch like the videos about the game development, I had no idea like where I would fit in. But thankfully, like everyone has been like super supportive throughout the process, and the office hours have like allowed me to get little dibbles of every discipline. In the beginning, like we were asked to draw like art concepts, and I really struggled. But fast forward today, I'm kind of an environmental artist. You might some of my pieces within the game, and overall, like I was just able to gain skills within the various disciplines. Played around with like pixel art, like mixing a little bit of audio, and marketing. Yeah, so overall, it was just a really great experience, and a plus was being able to work with such an amazing It feels like feels more like you're hanging out with your friends rather than just work. Yeah.
Okay, apologies. I didn't hear the first question because my Wi-Fi like just cut out completely. But now I know it's a reflection. But I would say like the past 12 weeks have been very unpredictable, just like my Wi-Fi cutting out. But it's also been just like a learning experience because like there's some things that are just with like out of my control. And like my team is there to support me and just like really help me through the moments where I just had a lot of work from school or just like I wasn't feeling very well. And they were all super supportive and understanding. And like, this is like one of the greatest experiences in my life. Like, just working with everyone that like I really liked. It just felt like Christine said, like hanging out with friends rather than like working. And building the blog was like really, really fun. And like, I loved curating and just like looking at that outline of like the blog and just yeah, like I love the team so much and like they were all super supportive and like this internship gave me like a lot of skills and like made me reflect on also like what I want to do in the future. And it was just an amazing experience and I wouldn't give it up for like anything in the world, even though it was a bit stressful at times. But like again, really like the greatest experience in my life.
Enrique?
Yeah, so this internship was such a crazy experience, honestly. Like, this might not have been my first time making a game, but it was still like a big, almost culture shock because I was introduced to using so many new things such as Trello or Fork to manage our project, and it did encounter a lot of like funny errors to where at some point our game disappeared. Um, but it was such a great learning experience, you know, because now I know what to do in case that ever happens somewhere down the future. And the team of interns has always been there, and we've always been there for each other. And I like how all of us just get along so well.
Nicole?
All right. Um, I'll be honest, I was feeling kind of like neutral about the entire internship up until this point. Once we put up the presentation, once we showed the video, I think the first thought that just came to me was just, we did it, guys. 6-week internship. We made a game. We did it. You know, it really amazes me how much we were able to accomplish in just that short amount of time with art, with sound, with code. A lot of us had minimal or no experience in the departments that we visited and stuff that we ended up taking the leadership over. So I guess just being able to see everyone grow their skills and grow just themselves along this entire process has just been really great to see. And like some people said earlier, I'm very, very happy to have shared this experience rather with all of my fellow interns here today, because honestly, I could not ask for a better team. Everyone here has amazing chemistry. Everyone steps up, supports each other. But you, Angela, I see you. And I would also like to extend a thank you to the leads for always being there for us, for always being ready to and like willing to help us, and just overall being amazing mentors. And yeah, that's it for me. I think Ryan did the last one.
Yeah. So basically, I remember when I started this internship, compared to the last internship, I never really, I had I had different expectations than what I had like coming into this. So I was really surprised when I was able to, because I really thought like, okay, I'm working with a group of teams. It's just gonna be like, you know, another like one of those like assignments in school or the slides where it's like, oh yeah, everyone just does their job and you know we just move on with our lives. But like with this experience going into this and being able like as of today, like it's amazing how much like we progressed like as like teammates, as members, as friends and everything. I think it's really cool because that's something I never actually imagined. And going into this with the skills that I've learned, So before I had knowledge of C++ and Python and all these other languages, but it was like my first time with C sharp. So I was able to get in with like coding and we're like, oh, okay, this is how it is. And specifically with Henry as my mentor, I was able to like do some things that I never thought I could have like done with coding. And that's something that like kind of like really like I guess I will say this warmed my heart because I want to get into like a computer science pathway and engineering. So being into like being able to like learn skills, technical skills such as coding or being able to design, going through the design process and everything. I really like enjoy that aspect of the internship, but also learning some general skills such as communication and being able to understand and be compassionate with your team members, because having good chemistry with your team members makes a really great team, and it shows with this group right here. So I'm really happy to have this experience and really proud to say that all of us had a in this game, and I just really enjoyed the whole thing. And yeah.
So
Thank you.
here are our social media pages. We will be sharing this presentation with everyone right now so that you can access those, and also our Instagram page. If you want to stay in contact or know what happens, we will be publishing in there our blogging in a little bit of time. And you can access actually a playable version of the game through the blog. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you so much, the six of you, for your presentation just now. It was really great and wonderful, and I think a lot of people, not just myself, but a lot of people who are watching this right now or might just be listening to this on the side, I think they can all feel for you and the experiences that you went through, and what the feelings you must have gone through during this entire process. I do want to kind of also commend the six interns, because while this internship we say like was over 12 weeks, something to keep in mind, and it's easy for us to forget, as we are not kind of in the same place as them in our life at this time. They are high school seniors, and they were juggling AP classes, just extracurriculars, college admissions. And so 12 weeks sounds like a really long time, but when you think about the 12 weeks of their lives, it's very different perspective. And it's amazing to me, like, given how short of a time that really is in the grand scheme of it. It's amazing what they were able to put together. And again, I don't think I'm the only one that can say this, but I think each mentor is also immensely proud and surprised, and a lot of other emotions when we think about each of them, but also like the work that they did. If it's okay, I would like to request that we have someone go back and play the video that we played at the beginning, just because I know that there were some technical issues along the way during this presentation, and I think there were some people who were coming in a little bit late. So I'd like another opportunity for people to see the game in action, especially now that we have all this additional context of like what went into it.
Could you share, Arson?
Yeah, and check your mute button this time, real quick.
Yes.
I think you need to stay unmuted or something.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope everyone was able to fully enjoy that experience in its entirety, just because it was a very different experience going through it this time than the first time when Ryan was talking about it. So I hope everyone has a little bit more insight and context about what everyone had worked on, put together. I guess first, before kind of like going into some follow-up questions and reading some comments from YouTube, because I have been looking through them. June or anyone else from the Bay Area group, are there any comments or questions that you'd like to share with the interns?
Actually, I would like to introduce John Harris from the Downey Unified School District, who is here, and have him share. So this would not be possible without the grant funding that is through the Downey Unified School District for career technical education. And we're so fortunate at Bay Area Group to be working collaboratively with Downey Unified, and in particular with John Harris, who is the Director of College and Career Readiness. So John, are you able to, do you want to say a few words? Are you here? Oh. Anyways, I'm not sure if you can unmute. So, well, I have actually a question for and I also wanted to thank our co-designer, Angela, who has been, she's on staff. She's actually an alumni of the internship program and has been with us for how long now, Angela?
I think since summer of 2020.
Since summer of 2020, and now she's a college student and our co-designer also. So I have a question for the interns. So I'm curious, so you all did definitely collaborate, and we know that you all worked well together. Is there something that surprised you going into this and where you are now? You shared a little bit about that in the reflection, but I was curious if there's something you wanted to add. Something that surprised you?
I can go first. I guess something that surprised me was like how easy it is to pick up different departments of game development, because I was kind of like, oh, I'm never going to get the hang of music. And I got to produce like one of the audios, and it was like actually kind of good. And I was like, what the heck? I didn't think it was going to be good. But I think that has part to do with like the wonderful mentors that we had during the internship, because they were so understanding and they really did teach us so much. And just how like multifaceted this internship was too, because I learned marketing, audio, art. Like, I didn't necessarily go into coding, but I saw what all the other interns were doing. So I was like, that's really cool. So yeah, I guess I was just surprised with how much I learned during this internship, because coming into it, I was a little scared because I was kind of like, my skill sets aren't really made for game design, but it's really easy to pick it up. And I see how fast people can develop within this industry. So yeah, that was one thing that really surprised me.
Yes, it was definitely a roller coaster of emotions, and we came up with things that we weren't expecting, such as the sound has to be basically made all at the end, and we were not expecting to have to crank most of the sound towards the last 5 days, but we were able to make it in part, like Megan said, because of our mentors who were there to help us and guide us to every step of the way, and also how simple at the end it was to work with a team. You would expect it to be hard to come up with the idea of what we wanted the game to be like, because it was an idea that we all came up with together. However, it honestly took us 2 meetings of 1 hour in 2 consecutive days. So in a matter of 2 hours, we were able to come up with a game that we all agreed with, create a storyline for it, and create everything that it needed to be a real game.
I can go next. Honestly, I think what surprised me most was just how available resources were. Um, the leads were great with that. They were always like giving us, hey, here's the sound resource, here's the software you can use, here's some instructional videos that you can follow to like understand this concept more. And of course, there was office hours. And everyone in the team was also really willing to help each other out with figuring out how to, for example, make up for certain art assets. Like I did tile sets and I did sprites, but I wasn't the only one who worked on it. Other people did stuff like the vines, the mushrooms. Other people did the concept for the frogs. So I think it's that amount of collaboration and the amount of resources was what was surprising for me.
Kind of on the same track. I was really surprised at how supported we were. I thought we were going to kind of like bring in our own skills and then be more independent. But we actually had a lot of resources and a lot of guidance from the mentors. I wish I was more like proactive in the beginning in like working in the disciplines because I was a bit more hesitant in asking for help, but a lot of character development happened and we gained a lot of skills and just, yeah.
One thing that I'm like really surprised at, during this internship is just like how much skills I was able to earn, work for, and then gain during this whole experience. Because, like I mentioned before, with the different communication and teamwork skills, like I never really like had that like expectation. I just thought like, okay, if I'm gonna be the level designer or the programmer, then I'm just gonna be only gaining assets and skills from that field. But with this effort and then the collaboration that we all did, I was able to learn more than I actually like thought I was going to, which is something that is like really important for like where I'm going towards like next. And I feel like everyone going towards next, because everyone's like fields are towards trying, design, problem solving, and it just takes like experience to really understand what it feels like to gain, like to have those skills. So being able to go to those same situations you had previously, you're able to solve problems more quickly and more efficiently than before. So that was something that I was actually surprised about while I was during this internship.
The one thing that like really surprised me, which might have already been said several times, was how we went from being like absolute strangers almost to being such a close group of friends in this over the span of 12 weeks. Like it's so unheard of. And I know several times within a week we would just meet on Zoom just to hang out. Like that was amazing.
Did any of you know each other beforehand?
Only some of us, because I remember me, Enrique, and Arseni are on the same school, but I mostly see Enrique a lot. So it was like, with everyone else, like it was kind of like new to me. Like we were all like new to each other, specifically. Yeah.
Adding on to what Ryan said, like I've known Ryan since I think 10th grade, so we were friends already.
Yeah, we have some questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to share both some comments and some questions that people on YouTube have been entering into chat during the presentation. So BG Killat says the frog designs are so cute, and someone said from Eunice Cho, wait, is this a time lapse? The production quality. So whoever put together the time lapse, good job. People will notice your hard work and the quality of it. Let's see, after that, people were surprised about the game disappearing a bit, because I'm sure that was panic inducing. Let's see, very impressive, good work, everyone. Really impressive with the short time frame and initial experience. Incredible work. Super proud of what you accomplished. This is for me, but level 2 music is my favorite. And then someone commenting about the sound effects being so cute. Someone Jasper Ye loves Jerry the Frog. Riv Otter says good job. Okay, so here's the first question from YouTube. This is from BG Killat. Can anyone speak to the collaboration process? How did you guys work through the decision processes and decisions required to make a game?
I think, well, I can't speak on all the interns we have, but just like my experience personally, like collaboration came very naturally to our group. There wasn't many disagreements, and we kind of all trusted each other in terms of like each of our disciplines. So, for example, Enrique would kind of say, I'm going to do this in code. Like, is everyone okay with that? And like, I would be like, yeah, because we know that Enrique is very talented. And it was kind of the same with story. If we really wanted collaboration, we would share everything on a doc, and then people kind of read through it and like be like, can you clarify this? Or I think this should be changed. But yeah, there wasn't many disagreements, but when we needed to collaborate and like really talk with each other, we would just schedule Zoom meetings and present and just be like, these are my ideas. Does anyone want to add on to it, or anyone want to change it for the better of the game? But yeah, collaboration was really easy with the group. Like I would say it's unnaturally easy. Like, so yeah, there wasn't many disagreements, and collaboration was just like really great throughout the entire process.
To kind of add on, want to shout out Arseni, our project project manager. He's super organized, so he kind of like also delegates the tasks and keeps everything organized in the Trello. So that kind of helps as well.
Thanks, Justine. Yes, it was just a lot of communication. And eventually, although we were all working on things and we were all deciding and giving opinions and sharing feedback, we decided that the people who were better at doing certain things were the ones who were going to stick with doing the most of that. For example, Nicole, as she said before, she did most of the art because she's really talented at doing art. Enrique with programming, and because I was the one that developed faster the sound, I took charge of the sound effects.
Adding on to like what Arsenia was saying, so like at the beginning, like when we started with like our first like meeting within Zoom and Google Meets, we were able to like have like our own like design document and have like just resources such as like our own Google Drives and like using Slack as a way to communicate with each other. So having all these things combined at the beginning, we were able to like collaborate much more easier and much more efficiently. So with the design document, we just figured out like, okay, what would be the theme of our game. We just discuss, have brainstorm some ideas. You know, nothing is ever a bad idea. All right, any idea can work. So we just go through the processes. We just go through just churn out like whatever ideas we have, and at the end we just churn out which idea would be better and more realistic for what we're trying to go with. And we eventually chose the ugly duckling theme with basing off the ugly duckling story. So that was something that we just like we figured out in one of the first couple of meetings.
Awesome, thank you. The next question from YouTube is, so this is from Corey Knowles. There were multiple mentions of people trying out various different departments or / disciplines. Which did you like the most or find the most rewarding? Also, favorite frog. And Jasper adds on, who is the best frog and why is it Jerry?
Personally, I think that the sections that I liked the most was sound. So that's why I decided to go and do the most of sound. And also programming, although I was not as good as that. So I just learned with Enrique and our mentor, Henry, as much as I could about programming and just making the game come together in Unity.
I want to say that my favorite discipline was coding, just because Henry was such an amazing guy to work with. And there's so many like little things that I would just not see in the code, and he'd point them out and he'd explain why that might not have been the best way to do it. And we worked together to find a solution towards that. And it was super rewarding because I do eventually want to pursue something within software engineering and programming. So I was able to sort of put my skills to the test right there.
I would say my favorite discipline that was kind of in a category was marketing. I really enjoyed the storyline, but storyline is so like kind of temporary because it's all towards the beginning and towards the development of the game. But marketing was really fun. I did the blog because most of the interns were busy kind of preparing the game. So I took on blog design, and doing that was really rewarding and a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And of course, all the other interns helped and collaborated on the blog design, and just seeing that come to life and like just kind of be the representation of our work was so rewarding. And I loved how it fleshed out. And my favorite frog is also Jerry. Working on story, it was kind of like I developed the frogs' personalities. So I made sure to have female representation with Jerry, but I also really like Barry. She's not on the Instagram yet, but she's also like really fantastic.
Personally, for me, I'd say my favorite part of the internship was the art, and shout out to Marlo, the lead for art, who was actually really dope about providing resources for how to do pixel art specifically, because you can tell concept art. I specialize more in just drawing stuff out the way it is, sketches and whatnot. So this was really like a new experience for me, especially considering I was making backgrounds, tiles, and sprites. And honestly, with his help, everything was a lot easier than I expected it to be. Picking up pencil art specifically, actually went surprisingly fast. I did not expect it to be that fast considering inexperienced. But yeah, I think that was my favorite part.
I remember. Oh, my bad. You want to go, Christine? All right. Okay. So basically, I remember like when I first started doing this internship, my main kind of focus was to learn like code a lot. But then when I started getting into level design and starting to like sketch out levels and being able to be like that designer, I was able to get like it was really rewarding for me, especially like now that I realized it after I was able to kind of like give some of my friends and even my teachers from my school just have them play test the actual game. When they were able to just going through the whole process and seeing them like what is their like thought processes behind the game. It just like kind of like it was like really rewarding to me because it kind of like it's just the idea that something that you make is actually like brought into life, and then people actually interacting with it and either having all these sorts of emotions like fun, anger for not passing the levels or anything. But it was really rewarding to see just like the emotions that it brought out to people, and that's something that I kind of really I never thought I wanted within like the things that I'm making.
Yeah, and my favorite discipline was art. It turned out to be like a hidden gem because art is something I tend to like dread. If only you guys could see my first frog. I mean, not a frog, my first duck. It was something else. It was a little potato. But you can definitely see like the progress. I'm more on like the environmental side. I try to stay away from things with eyes, but I'm like still trying things out. And my favorite frog is Mary, and he's the one with the little pink bow. I think I resonate with Mary the most, personality-wise.
Awesome, thank you. The next question comes from Eunice Cho, and this is a bit of a long one. So, hello, my name is Eunice Cho, and I am a content producer. I'm a content producer at Riot Games. As a storyteller in my field, I was particularly interested in the story portion of this game. Despite the game only being able to showcase the first of total 3 stages of intended story, I could tell from Megan's presentation that there was great thought put into the story. Her question is, what inspired the team, or Megan in particular, to want to touch on themes of identity and home? And is there any particular reason duckling and frogs were used to tell that story?
I can take this question. So the idea for like, I guess the larger theme was personally like writing the story. It kind of reminded me a lot of myself growing up because I grew up in Colorado. I was like the only Asian there. So kind of imagine that I was a bit of an outsider, and I kind of know what it feels like to be otherized and just kind of feel like I don't really have a home anywhere. So kind of like telling the story of the ugly duckling was kind of like cathartic because it was kind of like me unleashing like this is like what I wish I had and what I wish I knew when I was younger, that there's a home out for like there for me in the world. And I just have to like really fight for it and really look for one. And it really inspired the story process. And basically why we told it through kind of like the duck and the frog instead of just like ducks and other ducks was to kind of get that feeling that he is different and that he is trying to look for a home where he obviously doesn't really belong. And that's kind of why there's also that progression from like, okay, there's frogs, which like don't really look like ducks at all, to stage 2, which has the undergrowth. The main boss is a snake, but kind of like the enemies and other NPCs that you encounter throughout the level were intended to be birds. So a little closer to a duck. And then stage 3 is just kind of like, they're all ducks. So it's kind of to also build upon that fact of like, he's otherized and you should kind of recognize him as different, but that difference is what pushes him to find home and like identity. So yeah, I know writing the story, it was very personal to me. And like, I remember mentioning to other interns, like I loved doing it just because like, I really do think it's an important message because there's obviously kids out there that are still struggling with kind of finding their identity and finding their place in the world. And I think like having games like this, like I know especially for me, it would have really helped me when I was younger to know that like, just because I'm different doesn't mean that I don't belong anywhere. So yeah, that was kind of like the main purpose behind the story, as well as like the characters that we were developing in each stage.
Thank you, Megan. That was actually the first time that I heard it, and I think that's gonna be the first time for a lot of the other mentors to have heard that part, like that that background. So thank you for sharing that with us and everyone that's watching right now. I'm glad to hear that it was cathartic for you and that you were able to get something out of that experience. Okay, the next question that we have is from BG Killat. What was the most challenging portion or issue that came up during the internship?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. One more time. It is what was the most challenging portion or issue that came up during the internship?
I can go for this one.
Yes.
Personally, for me, I know I said I liked the art the most, but the biggest challenge is the art. Because like, first of all, like I said earlier, it's a whole new medium, but also it was just difficult, I guess, to score out what we wanted it to be, because of course you're taking this written medium, all the dialogue, all the story, all the feelings, and you're trying to input that into this kind of visual sense. And you could see from earlier, we had a lot of different concepts. We had stuff that was darker, stuff that was geared in different directions, stuff that just looked completely different. There was a lot of different little aspects of it that we all wanted to change that would more commonly reflect this vision that we all had. And you can see that through all the different stages and all the different renditions. There was a lot of changes that we had to make just to get whatever we wanted down in an actual like tangible medium.
Yeah, I would say for me, the biggest challenge was just making the sound, because when I first saw the game and I saw the concepts that we were supposed to be working on, I automatically knew, okay, I want this sound for the game. Now the issue comes in, how do you make that sound? You need to find something in real life to record a kind of similar sound and then combine it with something from Serrata Studio that gives it that final touch. So it sounds magical and fun, cartoonish for the game. So that was pretty much the hardest thing that we found, at least from my perspective.
I think for me, when like the hardest part for me was just to like get the minute things within like the build and level design, because I know that while I was getting these art assets in, and like the vines, the butterfly that we have, the mushrooms, the NPC frogs, the actual hostile frogs and everything. Like I was trying to during the beginning and throughout the whole process, just trying to figure out what what if I was the player, what would I want to actually experience and what I want to actually like do when I'm playing the game? Because sometimes like you don't really realize some of the times when you're creating the game, it's like, oh, okay, you're practicing over and over again, like trying to figure out like the best movement for the levels to, trying to find that balance of not too challenging, not too easy. You go through the levels and then you're like, okay, this is good, this is great, let me put into a build and let me just share it to my other friends or other people who are going to be like play testers. By that point, when those play testers are going through the game, you realize when you're like watching them, like, oh, these little aspects of the game I never realized until the build it was actually built in, and having other people who have never experienced the game before being finally able to play it and just go through it. Because I remember just a couple of days ago I gave the game to my teacher, and she was playing it. This is like probably one of her first experiences playing like a game. She doesn't really play video games at all, so she's going to the level, and then it was at like that first level that like she had trouble with. So there's these things where it's like, me as a level designer, I'm constantly in the game over and over again, but I don't realize that like there's some differences that might occur to other people that haven't experienced it. So I'm just trying to accommodate that within level design and just trying to either balance out everything. So it was just and also making the environments look as good and beautiful as they can be.
Yeah, I think the most challenging thing for me this internship was definitely handling and like balancing schoolwork with the internship. I do not know why, but my teachers decided to just pile work on me on the last week of the internship, which is like kind of the most important week. So I was like super stressed and I was freaking out and I was like, why is this happening to me right now? But again, the support from the team and the mentors was like so meaningful that week because it was overwhelming. Like just everything was like on my mind at all times and I couldn't sleep very well. So everyone was really understanding and just like was like, yeah, I understand. Like I can help with this and delegate this to this person. So it was really, really helpful to have that supportive team on my side.
I would say that the hardest part for me was when after we sent out builds, we would receive feedback. And a lot of the feedback was sort of geared to how the player felt. And I struggled as to how to really understand what it meant and how to improve off of it. Because early on, the player felt super, super floaty and the flap was almost like a stutter. And it wasn't the best, but playing around with certain values that were being calculated within the physics, we were sort of able to give the duck such like a nice heavy feeling to it, and the flap didn't feel like a stutter anymore. It felt smooth and it would keep your velocity.
The most challenging part for me was just taking like the first steps and just getting out of the mindset like I'm not good enough or worried about getting in people's way. So basically just learning how to ask for office hours and making most of the experience, even though I didn't know very much. And that was something I only realized like towards the end of the internship, and I wish I took advantage of that more earlier on.
Thank you. I know we're running a little bit short on time, so I want to power through some of these questions. Ryan, I know you touched on this a bit, but Jasper asks, were there any playtesting sessions with participants outside of the team? If so, how were they conducted and was it valuable?
Yeah, so to like briefly like reiterate and like add on to it. So some people that I had for playtesting was my teacher, my AP Lit English teacher, and then some of the students within that class that are not a part of our team, and just some of our other friends that like me that like are in my school, and just giving it to them and just seeing how the like how the just how would they go through playing the game. And of course you would have like different like perspectives when you have people who haven't even touched a video game at all, don't even know what a video game is. Like, weirdly enough, it's kind of weird, like, or I guess haven't touched a video game, that's what you could say. and then other people who are just pro gamers and like play gaming like game like like 24/7 or anything. So you have these different perspectives. You have people who play games a lot, people who don't play, and people who just moderately play. So as I'm giving like the build towards these people to see how would they go to the level and what they would think while progressing to levels, I'm able to see like, okay, for beginners, this is a little bit too hard. And even specifically, if this is the first stage of the game, we want the levels to be more easier and accommodating towards beginners. And then towards the harder parts, if we want to have that little challenging aspect to the game, those people who play video games a lot are able to kind of like have that joy within challenging moments, such as like going to the flap and being able to time jumps, double jumps, and movements correctly to get into certain stages of the level.
I think that's it for that question.
Chris, is there any more questions from YouTube?
Sorry, I'm having a bit of connection issues, but let me see if this will get through. The last question is from BG Killat. As a software engineer myself, what was the most interesting or challenging bug you encountered?
Probably the most interesting bug that I encountered was when Ryan and I were both working on a scene without letting each other know. Honestly, like biggest mistake we could have made right there, because the moment we sent each other our changes, the whole entire second level disappeared. We were able to resolve that, but definitely interesting. I learned what a merge error was, so that was amazing.
One funny thing that within like like encountering a problem within like the game and stuff. So while me and Enrique were just like testing out like the physics part of like the build, I remember because like sometimes the like if you have really low frames within the computer, it would like sometimes jumpstart the duck into like a whole like different like it like the velocity would be super fast. So literally what would happen is we would try to double jump, but for some reason like the velocity makes like when you were turning right, it would just go left. So you would phase through the level and you would be on like within the tile sprites themselves. So you would go so fast to the point where like the collider doesn't even detect the player moving. And it was so funny because I'm like, yo, like this is crazy. Like I never really expected that to happen. And that's something that like I guess with a player moving so fast to the point where like it's breaking the level itself, like it was like crazy. So that was one really funny thing that I encountered with Enrique and within that aspect of the game.
Thank you two for that. I'm sure for people out there that what you experience is a very relatable moment, and so I'm sure they're laughing right alongside you. One last comment to share from YouTube chat is again from Eunice Cho. I don't know if Megan can see this, but thank you for being open and sharing your story with us, Megan. Love it. I'm happy you were inspired and empowered by your personal experience. Cool. At this time, first of all, for any of the mentors that are still here with us right now, are there any questions that you would like to ask the mentors? Just things that you were curious about their experience that you haven't heard already, or things that you would like to know more about? A question I have, in case that people still need to think, is so this is for any of the interns. What kind of advice could you offer to someone who might do this internship in the future?
Have an open mind. be willing to do what you know how to do and what you don't know how to do, and to collaborate with your team. Sometimes you will encounter challenges where none of you know what to do or how to do it. And the best way to approach it is not to give it to someone and be like, okay, this is your issue and I'll figure it out. That's the worst approach that you could take to any problem. The best thing to do is always to try to collaborate, to ask each other, to ask the mentors, and seek help within and without the team.
One thing I would like to say with that, like quickly, is I know it was really kind of like overwhelming for me whenever when I started like my first Unity project, because when I started getting into game development, I just didn't know like where to start. Like, how does everything like even beginning starts? And I know a lot of people who are getting into game developing or indie developers, they probably had that experience too. Like, where do I even start? And one thing that I would like to say about that is like you can just like don't be afraid to just ask like any questions at all, and then just like look at YouTube videos and tutorials for those types of things, because that's what really helped me like understand the concepts of what's going on, and then me trying to like just trial and error type of stuff. This for me was kind of like a math problem. First you would see like, oh yeah, so here is like the problem. I don't know how to do this, so let me go ask my teacher for help. They give you an example problem, you go through all the concepts, and then you try it for yourself, and you're like, wow, this is, I never knew I could do this. And then you just keep going on and mastering. And it's a really nice thing to have and enjoy.
Yeah, I would like going off of what Arsetti and Ryan said, I would say like be authentic and vulnerable. Like not every one of us comes into this internship with like the skill sets that are needed for game design. I remember when I came in, I was like, I only know how to write. That's literally all I know how to do. And I learned from Kat like how to develop sound, and they were just super helpful throughout the entire process. I sat in a few art office hours with Marlo, and like that was also super helpful. And I guess just like put forth your best effort. Like even if all you can do is make like an outline of like one of the frog's hair, like that's enough to get the team going and to like alleviate some of that burden that art may have, or making like a 10-second sound bite that may alleviate sound. So really trying your best and like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, it's a lot easier than people may think. And I think the first hurdle is literally just trying it. Like I know sometimes we can have like mental blockades in our mind, but just getting over that and really pushing the fact that like we are all beginners at some point, and this internship is a learning experience. So it's a great time to like put your best effort forth and like try new things that you may have never thought that you would want to try before.
I would say that the biggest advice that, like I could give to anybody, oh my bad, is don't sell yourself short and always believe in yourself, because any and every skill that you can bring onto the table matters. It's always valid. And when people see that you believe in yourself, they are willing to help you out and grow, because we're all on the same boat together and nobody wants to be left behind.
Yeah, just echoing what everyone said. My piece of advice is to try everything and believe in yourself. The believe in yourself part is from Enrique. I was struggling a lot in the beginning, like just like to take my first steps, and he just always told me to believe in myself. And you never know like where it could lead you. Like it could be a new hobby or even career path. In the worst case scenario, you find out you don't like it. Best case scenario, you find out you love it and doing it.
And for me, I'd say there's a lot of resources here provided by a group, provided by just about everyone. When you can, make use of them. If there's office hours, or if you have a question, even if you think you know the answer, go ask one of the leads. If you want to learn more about something, try visiting the Udemy account that they provide you, stuff like that. Because I know that I serially underused some of the resources. And just make sure that you make use of what you can in this topics.
Awesome.
Yes,
Thank you for
just
that. Oh.
I was just going to say, like building off what the other interns have said, the first thing that they want to do if they decide to take this same internship in the future is make a plan at the very beginning, because although it feels like you're going much faster without actually planning every step, it feels like you never stop. The reality is that you're having to stop after every step to calculate what the next step is going to be. If you plan at the beginning, it's like going in the freeway when there's no traffic. You don't have to stop at any point.
Thank you, everyone. That's a really awesome advice, and I think that's going to be true for anyone, regardless of whether they do this internship, a different internship, or just going to their next opportunity or job. So I think what everyone said is very useful and valuable. So thank you. We are close to wrapping up in time today. So before we close it off, at least from my end, I would like to bring Angela to talk a little bit, just because she was our co-designer intern. I personally feel a special kinship with her as a fellow anteater, so zot zot. And for me, Angela has always been helpful because she is able to help bridge the gap between where me and the other mentors are, because just where we are in our lives, and Angela is in between us and where all of the interns are. And as someone who has done one of these internships before, she has her own perspective and insight. And so I'm just curious what she has to say about it all.
Yeah, it's just really interesting to see how, by the way, first of all, I'm really proud of every single one of my interns, because not because this is my team, but honestly, you guys are the best group that I know, because you guys have an amazing team chemistry and great work ethics, and you guys always do stuff together, and you guys are just so on top of everything. For example, your guys' vlogs, I think you guys finished first, and even Red used it as an example for all the other interns. So you guys are really the role models of this whole internship. Not to my own horn, but my interns, I'm so proud. And it's just amazing to see them grow throughout the whole process. Like they said in the beginning, they didn't have a lot of necessary confidence or skills needed for this internship, but now looking at their end product and just how confident that they are in themselves, I'm just really proud to see them grow. And I just want to say thank you to all the Acapara team members for helping them out, because I know you guys host a lot of office hours for these interns. So yeah, without you guys, they wouldn't have grown so much. And without the interns, willingness to learn, they wouldn't have grown that much either. So I'm just really proud to see this tremendous growth. Good job, everyone. I'm proud. And I hope you guys can carry these skills forward to, make more incredible things in the future.
Thank you, Angela. I guess I'd like to bring it back to June, to close things out.
Yeah, this has been so fun just to see what was created and the game. I'm excited to go to play it, and the music, and I'm glad we got to see the before and then hearing all the process. It's like the behind the scenes, and then to get to see it. It's definitely in a different light. So I'm excited for others to be able to play the game and give feedback. So we will be posting all of the blogs coming soon. We need a little time to make sure it's ready for the public. So stay tuned. It will be on our beagroup.com website. So check that out. We'll be sharing that, and we're going to have an in-person celebration. So we're planning to launch on April 14th, the blog and everything. So stay tuned. We do have one more showcase. So I want to give a plug. So please stay tuned. We have our last showcase for personal genetics. That's at 5:45. So also on this YouTube channel. And I wanted to thank everyone, all of the mentors who I mean, I don't know if any of you want to say anything about this and hearing the showcase before we close out.
I do. I definitely do. So I have seen you kids grow so much over the last 12 weeks. I'm going to do my best to not get emotional right now, but I am so immensely proud of you all. And I implore you to hold on to that feeling of discovery and trying something new and becoming proficient at it, or just learning to enjoy it. That's something really magical that you can't buy, you can't get it anywhere other than inside. So I'm so proud of you guys. And I hope you guys stay connected together because, as you've noted, your communication and your teamwork is just otherworldly, to be honest. So it was my pleasure working with you all. And you're free to email me anytime with questions.
Yeah, I do really want to emphasize that I don't feel like we can take any credit whatsoever for everything that they've accomplished. The most important skill that they demonstrated was just the willingness and preparedness, like just show up and do the work. We really tried to emphasize to them that is really essentially all it takes to do anything, is to be willing to show up and do the work and learn. And yeah, they impressed throughout, constantly, week after week.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree on that. I mean, it's very enjoyable. And as a tiny snippet background, I've done something not exactly like this, but I used to work at a school that taught kids how to make video games from ages 6 to 14. So been there, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. And it's just fantastic to see people going from, in particular, the people who start off with doubt in themselves or their abilities, or even just the concept of what they're about to have to endeavor. And then within such a short period of time, being able to tout their accomplishments and be excited and proud and eager to continue on with something akin to this, or directly involved in something exactly like what they with what they just accomplished. It's just so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I am blown away by what all of you did, what you were able to bring and what you were able to pick up. To see you all pick up these skills so quickly was really impressive. And these are all skills that you all can take with you and keep doing as like hobbies and personal projects, even if you don't choose to go into this professionally. There's a lot of smaller game engines out there where one person can put together a little game on their own. This can be a form of creative expression for all of you, as much as writing a song or drawing a picture. And I just hope to see what you guys all keep putting out. And yeah, incredibly proud of all of you.
Earlier, one of the questions was, what surprised you? Something that surprised me and all the mentors literally week to week was just how much and how ready each of you were ready. Like, you showed up. Not only did you show up, you were ready and came to play and work. And it was apparent every single time. And every week we as mentors would meet up to kind of talk about how everything's going, the progress of everything. And we would, so beyond proud, beyond everything, when we think about it and what you put into these past 12 weeks. Again, similar to what Kat was saying, regardless of what you end up doing after this, whether you take up some of these skills as hobbies, something I want each of you to remember, going on from here, is maybe it's not necessarily like the direct skills that you learned or that you actually did during this internship. I think there are other things that I think are going to be important no matter what you do. So, some of that is like the tenacity that each of you showed during this internship, your ability to work individually, but also collaboratively on a team. And I think there's like a whole list. I think we talked about this in a previous meeting together. So I'm sorry that I can't share that with everyone here, but yeah, there are a lot of skills that each of you were able to pick up and master, whether or not you realized it or not. And I hope that no matter what path you end up, you are able to kind of, embody those. And these are skills that people look for because they're kind of rare. people don't really think about them or realize how important they are until you have them and you're like, wow, that really makes a difference. And so I don't want, I want to make sure that each of you remember all of those traits and skills that you showed us and continue to show other people that as well.
I know this was our first time doing a 12-week internship. So I just wanted to thank all of the mentors at Acapara Games. It's always so fun to collaborate with all of you. And Christopher, thank you for being our contact during this whole process. And we look forward to seeing you all at the celebration April 14th. So we're having a party that we're going to be having a chance to meet everyone in person because we've been virtual this whole time. And so that's something we're going to be doing. And so this is our showcase. And I wanted to thank everyone on YouTube for joining us. And so, like I said, we have another one in about 10 minutes. So we're going to get ready for that. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. And yeah, we'll